Welcome to homework.
All right. So we start here with a table that you will also see in question 8 of Clean and Shine and their cost table. And so what they want us to do here is fill out the rest of the table with the information that 1 unit of capital, right, one automated line costs $150 per day, and 1 unit of labor, one worker, will cost $100 per day. So the first thing that we can definitely do is fill out our total fixed cost, total variable cost, and then total cost, after which we can figure out our average fixed cost, average variable cost, average total cost, and our marginal cost. So knowing that we have 1 unit of capital along the whole line, we know that our total fixed cost will be $150 throughout this entire table. 50, 150, and 150. And then knowing that one worker costs $100 per day, every time that we add a worker, we're adding $100 to our total variable cost. So that is not 100, that is 200, 300, 400, and so forth. And we know here that our total cost is merely the addition of our total variable cost and our total fixed cost. So then we can go ahead and fill out the rest of that as well. 250 and 150. Then average fixed cost, as we know, is total fixed cost divided by output. Average variable cost will be total variable cost divided by output. Average total cost would then be total cost divided by output, but we could also solve by doing average fixed cost plus, average variable cost. So if there's zero output, there's not really an average there. But then, as we move forward, average fixed cost is equal to 5. Average variable cost is equal to 3.33. And so our average total cost will be 8.33. We know then for the next row, for 70 units of output, our average fixed cost will go down 2.14. Average variable cost 2.86. And then our average total cost being equal to 5. Doing this with the next column, or next row, average fixed cost being 1.25, our average variable cost being 2.5, then our average total cost being 3.75. Doing this with the row of 160, our average fixed cost going 0.94, average variable cost again being 2.5, and then our average total cost being 3.44. Then for our row of 190, our average fixed cost being 0.79, our average variable cost being 2.63, then our average total cost being 3.42. Then finally, our average fixed cost being 0.71, our average variable cost being 2.86, and then our average total cost being 3.57. And finally, we can figure out the marginal cost for all of this, which we then can find through how many additional units of output, right? Example, from 0 to 30, we're adding one worker, so that's $100. So marginal cost would be 100 over 30, or 3.33. Then our next one would be $100 for 40 additional units of output, marginal cost of 2.5. Then we have 50 additional units of output for $100, so it's 2. After that, again, 40 units of output increase, again, 30 units of output increase, and then finally, only 20 units of output increase for $100 would give us, not marginal cost of 2, but marginal cost of 5. So we finally have filled out the rest of the table. And so first thing it asks is, what range do we have increasing marginal returns to labor, and what range do we have diminishing marginal returns to labor? And here, we definitely want to be looking at this left-hand side, our amount of labor, or the amount of output that we have here. We see from 0 to 30 plus 30, and then 30 to 70 is plus 40, so it's increasing. Then 70 to 120, again, is increasing. So from 0 to 120, we have an increasing marginal returns to labor. So let's do increasing marginal returns to labor would be from 0 to 120. And then as we can see, we have then a decreasing marginal returns to labor from plus 50 to plus 40, from plus 40 to plus 30, and from plus 30 to plus 20. So from the rest of this range, from 120 to 210, we have a decreasing marginal returns to labor. To 120 to 210, Then, next part is part B. As output increases, do average fixed costs behave as described in the text? The answer to this is definitely a yes. Average fixed costs are always going down as your input rises. Because notice, we have a fixed cost, and fixed cost, as it says, will stay the same the entire time. And if one is constant while the other is increasing, like we have on the left, that means our average fixed cost must be decreasing. And that is the exact same as described in the text. Moving on to part C. Asking as output increases, does our marginal cost, average variable cost, and average total cost also behave as described in the text? And again, I would definitely say yes to this. The reasoning behind this would be as our marginal cost originally is going down to start. It decreases from 3.33 to 2, our diminishing marginal cost. And then as output is rising, again, we see that our marginal cost is rapidly increasing. So that makes sense. Then looking at our average variable cost, we see as it decreases as it goes on here. And then as it hits a minimum point between outputs of 120 and 160, it again starts rising up again. And so that is the same with average total cost, right? It's decreasing. Blue arrow. It's decreasing as it goes down to 160 units of output. Then again, it increases as time or output increases. So I would say yes to this question. And finally, is the marginal cost and average variable cost curves, and the marginal cost curve and average total cost curves being, or the relationship in between them described as in the book? And again, and finally, I would say yes to this as well. And the idea that we're looking for here is that as the marginal cost curve intercepts the average variable cost curve, it then will increase the average variable cost, right? We know as we scroll down that once marginal cost is more than average total cost will increase. And this is the exact same relationship with average variable cost. It's the same thing. So as we see it from 3.33 to 5 is when our average total cost is rising, right? And we saw that our average total cost is going down as our marginal cost was still less than our average total cost. Now for average variable costs, right, this point usually hits a little bit earlier. At this point, from 160 to 190 units of output, did our marginal cost here go over the average variable cost. And this is how we saw that marginal cost then made the average variable cost increase. And in turn, this is exactly what the relationship here is described in our book.